night in one of the great venues in all of Major League Baseball. We welcome you to Kauffman Stadium just outside of Kansas City, Missouri. First of a two-game set. Royals will be coming to Cincinnati once a month of September rolls around. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Infrequent, these teams get together. Take a look at the history in the times these clubs have gotten together, and you look only the 9th series meeting of all time.
Yeah, infrequent, but recently, what have you done for me? And that's not much. That is the Reds against the Kansas City Royals. They have not won here in Kansas City since going back to 1999.
Let's talk about the Reds right now, and the difference maker clearly in their win on Sunday over the Cardinals, Billy Hamilton. It's been a frequently debated topic. Should he be playing? Should he not be playing? When you watch him like Sunday, he should be playing.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, when he plays the kind of defense that he can play, I mean, he saves more runs than he's going to give you offensively. But he did have a triple, and he scored a couple of runs, which is what Billy does when he gets on base. The triple was outstanding. The running around in the bases is always something that gets people excited and the opposition very nervous. But in the field, boy, oh boy, I don't know if there's an equal to Billy Hamilton defensively in center field anywhere in baseball.
Here he's cutting down that runner at the plate after nearly Royals. Heck, it was only 3 years ago, Chris. This team won the World Series. They played in 2 of them, beating the Mets most recently in their trip to the Fall Classic. And a lot of guys are gone from that team.
Well, a lot of guys are gone because it became a little too expensive for the kind of market that Kansas City is in. So they figured they had to turn the page, begin to rebuild a little bit. And then it seemed like they had second thoughts last year. And they signed some veteran players to one-year contracts, hoping to just have one more decent year out of the guys that they did have that made their core. Really hasn't happened yet at all. They're not scoring runs. Their bullpen is not doing so great. They do have some players that can play, and they're a household name. Mike Moustakas is one of these guys. 13 home runs, 42 RBI. If you're a right-handed pitcher on the Reds pitching staff, you've got him on your mind.
I know the one guy you were very high on back in his Arizona Diamondbacks days hadn't been the same guy since. Is a starting pitcher, Ian Kennedy.
Well, a former #1 draft pick for the New York Yankees way back when, out of one of your favorite schools, USC, Tom. And he's a guy that has had a really good career, won 21 games with the Arizona Diamondbacks at one time, but he has really fallen on hard times this year. This is a crash and burn year right now for Ian Kennedy. He's not getting anybody out with his fastball. His changeup has been one good pitch for him, but I'm not sure how many times you can rush that up there and expect good success.
Did you say one of my favorite schools, USC?
USC, you're always crowing about Southern Cal, the Trojans.
I don't remember that.
I'll remind you.
Ever. Never. When we come back, Jim Day's talking about one of his favorite topics, the Reds offense, and that starts with his main man, Joey, right around the corner.
By Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. And by Buick, get $5,500 purchase allowance on most Buick Envision models. Sal Romano gets the ball tonight. The question is which Romano will show up. Last 5 starts, well, been a tough road to hoe. And over 10 ERA, opponents hitting .343. His previous 5 starts to that, though, the ERA at 2.33, which is outstanding, and an opponent average of just 2.12. But Sal knows that there's some guys, AAA right now, that is certainly just one call away, and he knows it is go time for him. After his last start, check out this quote from Sal Romano. He said, I quote, "I'm extremely frustrated. I've just got to execute during the game and get guys out when I need to. I better turn things around soon." The starting pitching would like to catch up with the Reds offense. You check out the Lowe's whole team together, and these are averages in June. Look at Schebler and Votto. Schebler certainly taken a liking to that leadoff spot. Winker, Jeanette, Peraza, all hitting well. The Reds as a team first in all of Major League Baseball in the month of June so far with a team .287 average. Warming you up for some interleague play. Reds and Royals coming up. When we come back, we've talked a lot about the Urban Youth Academy in Cincinnati. A very, very good event this morning, which involved Billy Hamilton giving back. We'll hear from Billy next. Series, Reds and Royals coming up. MLB and USA Baseball teamed up this morning for the Breakthrough Series development event at the new Kansas City Urban Youth Academy. Now, this was held with elite instruction, showcase games for some top talent around the country from the Urban Youth Academies. There were some former players, coaches, front office, all speaking to these youngsters. And also Billy Hamilton went this morning and looked these kids in the eyes. And a lot of kids that Billy said, hey, a few years ago, I was these kids looking out, trying to get out of Mississippi, didn't grow up with much. And Billy Hamilton told me it was one of the greatest experiences of his life, and he got a lot out of it.
Biggest smiles I've seen in my life, and just to be around them and just give them a bunch of courage was amazing today. Like I said, took time out of our day before we had to come play just to see those guys happy and watch them play. Man, that's definitely some athletes out there. But like I said, they never get a chance to be seen because like this is what area they maybe come from or what high school it is. They never get a chance to be seen. So like for the Urban Youth Academy to put that on, for like scouts to come out there, man, those people from the MLB there. So it was amazing for me to even see.
Yeah. And those kids got to watch batting practice, including these two kids. Wilman Perez, a shortstop from Hamilton, Ohio, class of 2020. And also Cincinnati area kid Justin Boggs, a right-handed pitcher from Walnut Hills High School, class of 2019. They got to meet some of the players, and you better believe they got a lot out of today.
It was really motivational because some of them had different scenarios than what I have, because I have a little more than what they had, and it shows me how much I should appreciate stuff. And then just knowing that how hard they had to work and just, yeah, stuff like that.
Do you feel like it's helping you as an athlete and as a person?
Yeah, I mean,
In what ways?
the academy, I mean, it brings a lot of confidence, and I mean, it gives me a lot of opportunities to travel, do a lot of fun stuff.
Reds Community Fund and the Reds Urban Youth Academy continue to do great things, and they're doing great things all around Major League Baseball. Today was a perfect example of that. All right, up next, Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh on the play-by-play action. Reds and Royals coming up on Fox Sports Home.
Stadium in Kansas City. Interim manager Jim Riggleman, the Reds 20 up, 28 down since he replaced Brian Price on the 19th of April. And trying to get a series win against another club, almost an identical record to the Reds, 23 and 43. Royals at 22 and 44. Look at the Reds starting lineup tonight. Shebler in right, Barnhart catching, Votto the DH. Jeanette at second, Suarez at third, Winker in left. Duvall plays at first. Peraza at short, Billy Hamilton in center, and on the mound, a native Southern Californian via USC is 33-year-old Ian Kennedy.
He's had a long career, and he signed for a couple of more years right here in Kansas City. They'd like to turn him around. Right now, he's basically the sore spot in his Kansas City rotation with a 1-6 record, earned run average up closer to 6 than it is to 5.
Scott Shebler, first pitch swinging, pops it up into foul territory, and there's a lot of it in this ballpark compared to most others, and that will fall in between the third baseman and the shortstop.
This stadium first built in 1973. Of course, when it was first built, looks completely different now than it did then, but the main difference, of course, is the playing surface. It was AstroTurf. They had the speedsters back then, and all that tartan area that you see brown is now dirt and gravel and so on. That used to be this synthetic tartan surface, and boy, the ball would get on that, and you couldn't even catch up to that baseball. There were so many triples hit in this ballpark.
Royals celebrating their 50th anniversary, their 50th season this year. They actually started playing in 1969, and it's been a very rich history, especially the early part of their history. Back in the 1970s and early 1980s, and then, of course, a pair of trips to the World Series. Their most recent trip, they beat the Mets 4-1 a couple of years ago. But for Kennedy, it has been a nightmare. He went 13-13 with San Diego in 2014. Since then, he has a win-loss record of 16-45. 17-30 after signing the big deal with the Royals.
And really, basically, for Kennedy, it boils down to the inability to get hitters out with his fastball at all. He likes to pitch up in the zone, but he just doesn't have enough on it anymore to get up there and be effective. And when he gets it down around low, even though he's throwing harder, according to the statistics nowadays, 2 miles an hour harder than he did in his heyday, he's just getting whacked around a little bit because he gets that ball down below the letters and up above the knees. That all becomes hitting zone for Kennedy.
Schebler on a real nice run since being moved into the leadoff spot. That batting average up to 282. It's incredible how well the Reds swung the bats on the just completed homestand, especially just winning 2 of the 6 games. But as a team, the Reds averaged well over 5 runs per game. And a team batting average on the 6-game homestand of 308. Into the shift and right under the glove of the shortstop, Alcides Escobar. That has scored a base hit.
Well, this ball just simply goes right under his glove. Schebler will take it. The Reds will take it. Escobar will take it. I mean, maybe they say that ball hit a little spot on the dirt and came up on him, but anytime the ball goes beneath your glove and between your legs, it doesn't make your defensive coach very happy.
Tonight is Escobar's 400th consecutive start at shortstop, the longest active streak of any player in the major leagues. The next closest is Freddie Galvis of San Diego at 231. That gets the longest such streak by any shortstop since the Iron Man himself, Cal Ripken Jr. So now the batter, Tucker Barnhart. Tucker, going back a little over a month ago, has been a .280 batter. And now makes his 15th straight start, hitting second in the batting order. He's been right around a .254 hitter since they put him in that number 2 spot. Well, to the right side, this should be an easy double play, even with a long throw from second to the second base bag, and it is 2 down. We look at Kansas City on defense, presented by Ford. Almonte in center, flanked by Alex Gordon, one of the great defenders in all the baseball, out in left, and Whit Merrifield in right. Familiar names on the left side, not so much on the right. And their mainstay behind the plate through their great run a couple of years ago, Salvador Perez. Bases empty, 2 away for the DH tonight. Joey Votto, a .310 batter. Votto hit .429 on the just completed homestand, starting every game. Got his first 3 RBIs in nearly a month, and he walked a whopping 8 times, including 4 on Sunday.
Well, all you do when you recite those stats is remind me anyway, Tom, how the Reds out-hit the opposition. They were on base all the time, and they just couldn't come up with a big hit at the right time to win those ball games. I don't know how many games in a row they played in which they had more hits than the team they were playing, but they just weren't able to nail down the big one.
Well, I can tell you this, the Reds have lost 5 consecutive series. Over a 15-game stretch, those 15 games, the Reds have out-hit their opponents 157 to 148, so nearly a wash, but they have scored 21 fewer runs.
It's like shots on goal and goals.
Exactly right. Or punches thrown and punches landed. You're quite the boxing aficionado. You were all dialed in. to all the big fights. Still 1-2 on Joey Votto. He has that batting average to .310. 6 home runs, 27 runs batted in for Votto. Got him swinging, so Ian Kennedy, who's been struggling so mightily, allows a hit, nobody left. Sal Romano gets the ball when we come back. Stadium here in Kansas City, right next door to Arrowhead Stadium, the home of the Kansas City Chiefs. And their manager is Ned Yost, the winningest manager by a landslide in franchise history. His lineup has Merrifield in right, Moustakas at third, and Perez catching. The former Cubs, Soler the DH, Gordon in left, Hunter Dozier at first, a latter third of Goins, Escobar, Almonte, against the slumping Reds right-hander trying to get back in a groove that he had very early in the year, and that's Sal Romano.
He did have a pretty good groove. The Reds are 5-8 in games in which Sal Romano has started. The last 5 or 6 games, though, have been rough for Sal. He's given up a home run in just about each of those. Sometimes his control has waned a little bit. Key, I think, for Romano, just don't put too much pressure on yourself. Pitch your game. Not every pitch has to be full throttle. And try to relax as best you can, but knowing he's personally got his back up against the wall.
Merrifield, a very interesting story. A guy who languished in the minor leagues for 7 years. They left him off their 40-man roster, then they finally gave him the chance. And now in his 3rd big league season, and he has really played well for this team. He led the American League in stolen bases a year ago. If you just look at this month alone, and it's a 12th day of the month, this guy started 4 games at second base, 3 games in center field, 2 games at first. He's been the DH once. At the end of the day, Chris, if you had one piece of advice, and I know you're not the pitching coach, but you work with a lot of young pitchers, and Sal Romano's a young pitcher. Granted, he's a major league pitcher. But if you had one piece of advice for him to try and get this thing turned around, one thing you'd say to him, what would it be?
I think I would tell him to back off a little bit, which is a very difficult thing for a young pitcher like Sal Romano. I can guarantee you growing up, he was always probably the biggest guy on the team, if not the league. The hardest throwing guy on the team, if not the league, maybe the county. And, you know, so you've learned to overpower your opposition all the way through. You finally get to this level, and you can't do that in this particular pond. So you back off a little bit, and you find out what works. And that's what I think he's got the potential to be a good starting major league pitcher, but he's got to learn how to pitch. And that means throw some pitches at 90% effort, other pitches at 95% effort, and then go back to 85. Mix your speeds up on your fastball, not just your fastballs and your breaking pitches.
Backhanded by Peraza, and a perfect throw in time to get Merrifield. We look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Hamilton again in center. Winker goes to left. Schebler in right. The big story, of course, is Votto gets a day out of the field. He's a DH tonight, so Duvall plays at first base. Mike Moustakas, one of the holdovers, along with Gordon and Escobar. Those teams and Perez had played in the World Series. Off to a good start. 13 home runs, 42 batted in. They brought him back. They had 4 of those guys came up as free agents last year, including Lorenzo Cain and Eric Hosmer. We just saw him with San Diego. So Escobar and Moustakas are still here. And they're in a straight rebuild mode. They think that, you know, they have a chance with some of their younger players who are still a couple of years off, that they're maybe, what, Chris, 3 years off, if they're lucky. A lot of that will depend on some of the young pitchers, like it does for everybody else. The Reds know all about that. In the air, and look at Scooter. Went up on the tarp and nearly nabbed it.
Perfectly legal to do that. If you want to get up on that tarp, brace yourself, you can climb up the fence a little bit and make that catch. Well, what wherewithal he has to be able to take his eye off the ball, jump on top of the tarp, pick up the ball again, and even though he comes up empty, I think everybody in a uniform appreciates that effort.
Well, he does it each and every day, each and every night. What a player, what a pickup he has turned out to be for these Reds. 2-2 on Moustakas. Scoring has been a major problem for the Kansas City Royals. Their batting average right in the middle of the pack in the American League, but they're 13th in runs scored. Liner. It drops under the glove and off the glove of Suarez.
Well, hit hard, probably had some spin on it right there, and he went right down to eyeball it into the glove and missed it.
Now, getting back to the Royals, only the White Sox and Baltimore have scored fewer runs in Kansas City, and along with the Royals, those are the 2 other worst teams in the American League. Baltimore's won 19 and lost 46. And they're losing again tonight. And the White Sox are just 1 game better than Kansas City. Hook foul by Perez. When they do score, it seems like they try and score early. Second most runs in the opening inning in the American League. That is hard to believe.
That's frustrating because that means they can get a couple leads and then basically shut it down.
They've hit the fewest number of home runs in the American League, have the Royals, and the appeal did not go around.
That's not a surprise. I mean, this is a big ballpark. They don't have a bunch of mashers in this lineup, but what they do have in the lineup are guys that you've heard of before. I mean, these are veteran players that have been around a little bit. Royals are just trying to have one last ditch effort last year to kind of rekindle what they had going with the World Series. This year they signed a couple of veterans to 1-year deals. Just has not worked out.
So they brought in John Jay. They've already traded him. 1 and 2 on Perez, and they also had Lucas Duda. He's out with plantar fascia issues, and there's no telling with that injury how long he'll be out. One ball and 2 strikes. Low batting average, but a lot of pop in this bat. Tried to get him to chase. 2-2.
I just think back every time I see Salvador Perez, I think back to that line drive that he hit in spring training, right off the cranium of Aroldis Chapman. I mean, I don't know if they ever measured that coming off the bat, but I mean, it was almost like Chapman hit himself in the head with the ball. That's how quickly it got back out to him. Tremendously strong.
And a good leader for this team. He always has been since he took over as their regular catcher. This guy rarely ever misses a start. We know how demanding that catching position can be. That one into left center field. It'll fall in the base hit. Hamilton gets to the ball quickly, and so Moustakas will stop at second base.
It just seems like Perez is a guy that, you know, doesn't really protect the outer part of the plate. When you come in on him, you really got to come way in because he's so strong. And he's able to muscle a lot of pitches like that miss the sweet part of the bat, but still get it hard enough to get it into the outfield.
Jorge Soler playing for the first time since Friday. He left that game in the second inning with a bruise on the bone of his left big toe. He fouled the ball off of that toe. We remember this young man made his major league debut against the Reds playing for the Chicago Cubs. And here's the foul ball he had on Friday against Oakland. Said before the game he's only at about 80 or 85%, but he's back in there tonight.
Well, this was the trade that was supposed to give the Royals what they needed. They traded away Wade Davis to the Chicago Cubs. Davis had a great year last year with the Cubs, went on to become a free agent, signed with Colorado. Soler, though, was an affordable, young, high-ceiling outfielder that was going to provide them a lot of pop down the road and just some all-around good play. Had a terrible year last year. He spent a lot of time down in the minor leagues. This year he's come on quite a bit.
0-2 pitch. And a roller to short should be a double play, and it is.
Soler's not allowed to run.
Bringing the energy indeed. Reds in the National League in top 5 of one category or another. Look at Jeanette, #1 in average, #2 in RBIs to his teammate Eugenio Suarez. Votto #1 in on-base percentage. These are the 3 guys that have been doing it all year long. And it wasn't until this recent homestand where some of the others began to get in on the act. Ball 1 to Scooter, that batting average at .340. And if you're wondering, no Reds batter has led the National League in batting average since Pete Rose hit .338 in 1973. And you can add to that .340 batting average.
Yeah, Scooter Jeanette's one of those guys that you follow him around, you talk to him about his hitting, and he's not the most scientific and calculating student of hitting. I mean, he doesn't take the time to break it down, say the way that Joey Votto does. I mean, he's basically a see the ball, hit the ball kind of player. But it's just uncanny how he's able to barrel up pitch after pitch after pitch.
Ian Kennedy threw 16 pitches, 12 for strikes in the opening inning. And now he turns his attention to the man who does indeed lead the league in runs batted in. And bear in mind, he missed over 2 weeks worth of games when he broke his thumb. That first weekend road trip of the year in Pittsburgh. 2-0 on Suarez. Kennedy is nearly impossible to run on. Now that Jeanette is going anywhere. Scooter has only attempted 1 stolen base all year long. But Kennedy does a marvelous job of keeping runners close. And believe me, there have been plenty of them that are getting on base.
Well, since he's come over here to Kansas City, he's had more runners thrown out than he has had successful stolen bases.
Well, he's thrown over 415 innings since coming to the Royals, and he's only allowed 11 stolen bases.
Of course, nowadays the stolen base is less and less important as teams more and more embrace analytics. Playing a low-run ball game, though, especially when you're playing in a league that has a designated hitter, where you expect a little bit more thump in your lineup, you don't really have to rely on that run very much.
Kennedy wondering where that missed. Laz Diaz, a home plate umpire, says ball 4. So 2 on with nobody out here in the Reds' second inning. Kennedy has allowed 83 hits in 65 innings this year. Opponents are batting over 300, 304 to be exact, and he's given up 12 home runs. Here's Jesse Winker. Winker hit over 400 on the most recent homestand that wrapped up with that win over the Cardinals on Sunday. Breaking ball, strike 1. And he had some big hits over the weekend.
Wow, big hits. One, he won the ball game in extra innings. He came up and had a huge hit to help tie the game against the Cardinals when the Reds were able to come back.
That'll back up Almonte. Tagging and advancing on to third is Jeanette. So a productive out for Winker. Runners on the corners, 1 away in the inning. Adam Duvall, yet another of the Reds who, when given the chance to play on the homestand, which wasn't as frequent as a trio of Schebler, Hamilton and Winker. But he did have 5 hits and 13 at bats, including a double. And he has a base hit in each of his last 4 starts. Runners on the corners with 1 out. Breaking ball stayed high.
That's the kind of pitch you're looking for if you're Adam Duvall, but you want it down a little bit. I mean, sometimes you can hang them so high they don't hurt you. Sometimes you bounce them in the dirt, but boy, the hangers is where he made his big mark last year. And either not getting enough of those this year or not taking advantage of those that he does get.
Well, the Reds were extremely patient at the plate over the weekend. They walked 23 times in the 3 games against St. Louis, the highest total for a 3-game series since April of 2003. It's hard to believe you walk that many times and you only win 1 game.
That was a classic example of walks don't haunt. So 2 walks in this inning. And the Reds have a golden opportunity to put a run on the board here. You know, Kennedy does not get very many ground balls. So if you're thinking about a ground ball double play, the one he rolled in the first inning was only the 3rd that he has had all year long. And believe me, he has had plenty of opportunities with the kind of runners that he's given up.
All right, it's up to Jose Peraza if the Reds are going to get on the board here in the 2nd inning. They're loaded with 1 out. And Kennedy will work out of his regular windup. Strike 1. Straight up in the air, very shallow center field. Now Monte repairs for the throw. Here comes the runner, and the runner is out at the plate on a perfect 1-hop throw by Abraham Almonte. It cleared the mound, landed softly on the grass, and right into the mitt of the waiting catcher. How about that? Well, tonight we are participating in the Home Run Challenge. This was started by Chris, your good friend, Michael Milken. Every home run in this game raises money for prostate cancer research. And since June the 1st, $525,000 have been raised in the challenge. You can make a pledge. Go to homerunchallenge.org. Of course, that was started many, many years ago by Mr. Milken, who is a prostate cancer survivor. Back with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, who's alongside the Reds' third base side dugout somewhere down there. I'm Tom Brenneman. Great to have you with us on this Tuesday night from Kansas City. Tuesday and Wednesday games, both night games. Another off day for the Redlegs on Thursday before they begin a weekend series against the Pirates Friday night. 0-2 on Alex Gordon. Quite a play made, quite a throw made by Almonte to cut down Scooter Gennett. The Reds had him loaded in the top of this second inning with only one out.
We talked about many times about how difficult it is for a center fielder because you have to throw it in that area over the pitching mound, but in front of home plate enough so that you don't short hop the catcher. And that was about as good as it gets from the Royal center fielder that time. I mean, you could see Scooter Gennett trying to sneak his left hand right in there on the edge of the plate, and that's where Salvador Perez made the tag.
Gordon broke in with the Royals all the way back in 2007. Fly ball to deep left center field, but this one will stay in the ballpark. Chris mentioned earlier, this is a big pitcher's park. That ball's long gone at Great American Ballpark, I do believe.
And you know, if I'm Sal Romano and I just gave up a ball like that to a big strong guy like Alex Gordon and he hit it about as hard as he could, maybe got under it a hair, I'm going to that safety zone a lot. I'm pitching to the dimensions of the ballpark. One of the rare cases where you can let them hit it as far as they want between the gaps and see what happens.
I mean, you're almost at 390 feet in the power alleys in this ballpark. 390. That ball's in the air. Schebler will track it close to the track on the warning track in fair territory for the second out.
And you don't need to do that on every pitch, but you always need to know that if you go 2-0 on a hitter, you go 3-1 on a hitter, you always have a safety spot. You can give a guy that likes a ball up. You can hit it as far as you want the other way, young man, and if you hit it out of here, I'll tip my cap to you, but 19 out of 20 times it's going to stay in the ballpark.
Two down in the inning, and it's in there, strike one. Ryan, a .234 batter, playing in his 34th game. Romano trying to get through quickly this second inning after throwing 21 pitches in the first inning. That is a foul ball. Milwaukee playing again tonight against Chicago, and the Cubs with a win last night leapfrogged the Brewers into first place in the National League Central Division, a half game in front. Milwaukee 2 early runs tonight at Wrigley Field. I beg your pardon, that game is being played tonight at Miller Park. One ball, two strikes. Big spread here between the home numbers and the road numbers. He makes his 23rd overall start of the year. Boy, and this is where Romano really gets himself in trouble, like a lot of these young Reds pitchers. You're ahead, a ball and 2 strikes, and seemingly every time you turn around, the count's going to 3-2. Straight away center field, another hard hit ball, but it's a long, loud out in a 1-2-3 inning for Sal Romano. End of 2, no score in Kansas City. Rolls around. This guy has 2 more years left on his contract. They signed him and gave him a 5-year, $70 million deal. He had the option of opting out of that contract at the end of last year, and naturally there was no way that was going to happen. And our Elk and Elk storyline were those numbers from Kennedy, who has won only one of his last 26 starts, I beg your pardon, in this ballpark. Think of that.
Well, where the real damage with Kennedy has happened is the first 2 pitches of the at-bat. On an 0-0 count, the opposition's batting over 400. 0-1, they're batting 520. Oh, how about when he goes 1-0? It's an even 500. So he's just trying to figure out a way to get deep into the count.
Fly ball to left. Which is away in the inning.
Which is really the opposite of what most pitchers are trying to do, which is pitch to contact, have a nice 3-pitch or less at bat to every guy that you face.
Tell you one thing, through all the numbers that we've been giving you on Kennedy, going back to his 21-win season as an Arizona Diamondback, one thing you can say about him, he has always pitched well against the Reds. I mean, this guy has really dominated Cincinnati in his career. A 5-1 record in 7 starts with an ERA at 2.33. Reds have not seen him since 2015 with San Diego. But of the 21 teams where Ian Kennedy has made at least 7 starts against, that 2.3 ERA against the Reds is his lowest. Now, obviously, there are very few players left on this Reds team since the days when Kennedy was putting up those kinds of numbers. Heck, even 2015, the 1 start, you look around tonight, and you've got what, Hamilton still around and Joey Votto. That's it. Suarez was not playing regularly. Peraza wasn't here yet. Jeanette wasn't here yet. Duvall had not arrived. Schebler had a single under the glove of the shortstop Escobar in the first inning. Popped up short left field. That'll be easy for Gordon. They're 2 away in the inning. You know, you go back to that 2015 postseason, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'd like to remind you the Cubbies are coming to town for a 4-game series presented by Kroger. And you can be there as low as $12 for tickets. Visit Reds.com. But in that 2015 postseason, capped off by a 5-game World Series win over the New York Mets, the Royals only had 4 pitchers start during that entire postseason run. Former Reds Johnny Cueto and Edinson Volquez, Chris Young, and Yordano Ventura. All 4 were gone by June a year and a half later. And of course, a tragic story of Ventura killed in a off-season car accident. And you look back to that trade the Reds made involving Johnny Cueto, sending him here to Kansas City. There is not a player in a Reds uniform tonight in this ballpark from that trade. 2 of them are pitching for Louisville, Cody Reed and Brandon Finnegan. Tucker bounced into a double play his first time up. Pitcher trying to get to the bag and does so in time. That's a nice play by Kennedy. Second baseman Goins gave him a good throw.
This Saturday, it is the Luke Bryan What Makes You Country Tour featuring Sam Hunt. Get your tickets today at Reds.com/Luke Bryan. I'm sure Tucker Barnhart is a Luke Bryan fan. Now, we told you that Tucker Barnhart switched back to the hockey goalie-style mask. Well, tonight he's debuting the all-black catcher's gear. He's not 100% sure that it meets the uniform qualifications, as are the Reds colors black, but pretty good look. He digs them.
It is a good look, especially that red trim right around the shoulder and the neck area. Very nice. Jim, you got a big league seat down there. I mean, this is a ballpark where even though you're on the outside of the Reds' third base side dugout, there's a drive into right field that'll back up Schebler off the bat of Escobar. 1 out to begin the third inning of his scoreless game. But you look like you got a pretty good seat down there.
It is a nice seat. This is a nice ballpark. This is one of those ballparks that has stood the test of time. No question about that. But, yeah, I've got although we're right in foul ball alley right here.
Are you?
Yeah. When you're at the other end of the dugout, it's a little more foul balls than the other end, believe it or not.
Why don't you just move that chair down behind the screen and you don't have to worry about it?
I don't think I'd have to move it on the dugout there, Tom.
No, you wouldn't. You could move right down to the end down there, a little further away from where the still camera guys are. You know what I'm saying? Then you have to get all uptight about it. I mean, believe me, I wouldn't sit down there and I mean, because you're going to make yourself anxious all night long wondering if a foul ball's coming.
Well, you just got to pay attention to every pitch.
Okay.
That's the key.
Well, all right.
But
I had to start doing that up here. Almonte pops it up into shallow center field. This will be an easy play for Billy. 2 down.
Yeah, the last 5 outs now for Big Sal have been all very easy fly balls. In this ballpark, a couple of the ones that were hit last inning just died. And really not some great swings here so far. So maybe beginning to get a feel of changing speeds a little bit. On the verge of having another really nice easy inning. Here's a throw by Almonte.
And 1 to Merrifield, a swing and a miss. He grounded out to the shortstop Peraza's first time up. So Romano 1 strike away, 1 out away from retiring what would be his 7th straight batter since inducing that double play ball off the bat of Soler to end the opening inning. Couple of right-handers had come limping into this series tonight. And an out away from a scoreless game through the end of 3. So Merrifield on a 2-strike pitch drops a single into left center, and he is very much a base stealing threat. We brought up earlier he led the American League with 34 of those a year ago, and he's well ahead of that pace so far this year. Already with 14 of them in 18 attempts.
You know, for a big guy, Romano's been pretty good holding the runners on. He's only given up a couple of stolen bases all year.
underhand feed from the third baseman to the shortstop. And that will end the inning. Scoreless at the end of 3. Kennedy v. Romano.
Now open and exclusively online. Make sure your favorite Reds are represented on this year's squad by voting at Reds.com. Catch all the excitement of the 89th MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 17th live on Fox. And Reds in the top 5. Jeanette third at second base. Suarez fourth at third base. And well, I'd love to see Tucker Barnhart represented as well. He has the best defensive metrics in the National League and in all of Major League Baseball. And he's the reigning Gold Glove winner. But get out and vote for the Reds. Scooter, Jeanette, and Suarez certainly they are worthy of your vote for sure.
And I know that you'll be sitting down, we talked about it earlier, with Joey Votto here in the coming week and a half or so for that extended piece. And look forward to that very much, Jim Day. Thank you. Speaking of Joey, he leads off the inning and taps one down to first. And he's retired for the second straight time tonight by Ian Kennedy. This is by far the best start to a game that Kennedy has had when you consider, I mean, you just go back through his starts so far this year. His first three, in fact, were really good. 1 run, no runs, 1 run. 6 in. How about some of these numbers? 6, 9, 5, 5, 8. I mean, it goes on and on.
Well, last time out, he pitched a pretty good ball game. Bottom line, that was against the Angels in Anaheim. He went 5 innings, only gave up 1 run, but he stranded 9 runners on base. Walked 3, gave up 7 hits. So he's been kind of tiptoeing around trying to avoid damage when he does have a good game. But this is right, you're right, Tom. He's not really had much problems at all. He walked a couple of batters in the second inning. The Reds had the bases loaded and a chance to get something done, and then the Royals put a pretty good defensive play on him with a throw out at the plate of Scooter Jeanette.
Scooter, a line drive single into center field. That is one of 2 hits the Reds have tonight so far against Ian Kennedy.
Yeah, Scooter has about the most unusual way of going down and hitting a low breaking ball in the dirt. I mean, his breaking ball batting average is really off the charts, one of the best in the league. But I mean, he doesn't just drop the bat head, he drops his entire body down, sometimes hitting it off his knee. I mean, with his knee on the dirt.
Gone swinging is Jeanette.
A high, hard one.
Here's Suarez. He walked his first time up. That's the inning when Kennedy allowed the single, and he walked 2 batters. Chris mentioned earlier the end result of that. The Reds had him loaded with 1 away in a spectacular throw made by Abraham Almonte on a double play to end the inning. Straight up in the air, and this will be back-to-back perfect innings, and this one right through the heart of the order of Votto, Jeanette, and Suarez on a total of 8 pitches.
City, Jonny Gomes had one of his best offensive games of his career. 2 home run game, a career high 6 RBI in that game at GABP. He's also hit by a pitch twice in that game. Reds won at 11-5, and it was the last time the Reds have defeated the Royals.
Well, trying to change that tonight behind Big Sally, as they like to call him, Pally. And he'll face 3, 4, 5 in the Royals lineup here in the last of the 4th inning. Totals nearly identical. Each team without a run, each team with a couple of hits, each team with 2 men left on base. The only blemish on that line would be the 1 error committed by Eugenio Suarez. Foul ball. Romano threw the front 3, a total of 45 pitches, 30 for strikes, and he has just fanned Perez for his first strikeout of the game.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like about going away from Salvador Perez right there. Last at bat, they came inside, went ahead in the count, and he muscled it into left field. This time he just stayed on that first base side of home plate, and Perez just waves at it.
2 balls and no strikes on Soler. And we saw when he hit that ball in the first inning with runners at first and second base and only 1 out. Hit a ground ball sharply to the shortstop, and he just could not run at all up to first. If you weren't with us, he fouled a ball off his left big toe on Friday, and this is his first game playing since then. And he will just a light jog down to first on another ground ball to the shortstop, 2 away.
You have to consider for a moment, Tom. I mean, you can just come out to a Royals game. It's a beautiful evening. You're coming out to a beautiful ballpark, and you watch one of the young players that you get in a trade for Wade Davis, who was one of your heroes the World Series season. And you see him jog down the line, and you don't have the same information that we have. You don't know that he's banged a ball off his toe and he can't run. You're just coming out, and you're wondering, what's going on here? Why doesn't Ned Yost have these guys running out here?
Good
point. The guy doesn't even want to run to first base. And you can go home with a completely wrong observation of what you saw.
When you talk about that bullpen, you and I were talking before the game. They had Wade Davis, they had Greg Holland, Ryan Madsen had found his career again after the injury in Cincinnati. Soria was there, Franklin Morales. Boy, what a bullpen. As good a bullpen as there has been in a postseason run in a long, long time, going back to the Nasty Boys in 1990. Just off the inside corner. Not by much. Pulled to the right side. And how about Romano? He is rolling right along with Kennedy. Working on a 2-hitter. We're off to the 5th in a scoreless game. By Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford, go further. Now that's a look at downtown Kansas City. I'm not sure if any of the teams stay downtown, and it's a happening downtown. Great music down there, always has been a great music city. A lot of them stay in an area out called the Plaza, which is a beautiful area. And then you have this ballpark. You know, it basically would like be building a stadium for the Reds and the Bengals. Let's say maybe somewhere up near Mason. That'd be probably fair, right? About that distance from your downtown. And of course, this has been known as one of the great tailgating spots for both baseball and especially the football team, because on the other side of the parking lot we mentioned earlier is Arrowhead Stadium. So this is quite a different setting than we're used to seeing in this day and age. Second time tonight we've seen that play, where a ground ball was hit to the right side and the pitcher had to cover, getting the throw from second.
Yeah, you see it more and more, Tom. I don't know if you have observed it as well, but I mean, we see more times when the pitcher covers first base than ever maybe in the history of baseball. A lot of that has to do with where the first baseman's playing, deep and off the bag a lot. And if it's a ground ball to first baseman, more often than not, you see that guy flip off to the pitcher. That PFP comes in more and more important every year.
Kennedy 55 pitches, and we're 1 out into the 5th inning. He went through Votto, Jeanette, and Suarez on a total of 8 pitches in the last inning. Now he'll turn his attention to Adam Duvall, whom he walked in the second. That was the last red to reach base against Ian Kennedy. In front of that fly ball, throw him out, double play to end the inning. Straight up in the air to Almonte. 2 down. Let's check in with Jeff Piccoro and what else is going on around baseball. Hiya, Pick. All right, Pick, thank you. And of course, that's on the heels of Craig Counsell benching Travis Shaw. Pulled him out of the game in the middle of the game the other night for failing to run out a ball. Apparently, it's happened more than once so far this season. And Counsell did not mince any words after the game when asked about it. He said, I love Travis Shaw, but we've talked about this a couple of times already this year. You either run him out or sit down next to me. And there's a fly ball in the right, which will end the inning. This special ticket package includes an exclusive shark bobblehead, plus your ticket to the game on June the 29th. We'll have a post-game fireworks show with a margarita-themed soundtrack. This limited edition bobblehead is only available through this offer. Purchase at reds.com/themes. Had a big crowd for that Marvel Captain America bobblehead over the weekend on Saturday afternoon at Great American Ballpark. Had 35,000 on hand for that game. So here we go into Kansas City 5th. Still no score. Dozier playing in just his 25th game, a home run, 4 batted in, missed a lot of time last year. An oblique injury, a wrist injury. Swinging a foul ball out of play.
Yeah, he's one guy, though, that the Royals really feel that is going to be a long-term player in this ball club. Drafted originally as a shortstop, he was a first-round pick, 8th player taken overall in 2013. Got him out of high school. He is now 26 years old.
Well, he started all but 3 games since they brought him up from AAA Omaha on the 14th of May. Romano looking in. Initially shook off Barnhart, finally okayed the sign, and then Dozier wanted timeout. Leadoff man here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Yeah, they're celebrating their 50th year here in Kansas City. We've said that already, but they're also celebrating, I believe, their 50th year in Omaha as an affiliate, a AAA affiliate of this Kansas City franchise.
Well, I mean, it makes absolute perfect sense,
Sure.
right? Some of the greats on there in the history of the franchise. Dan Quisenberry, of course, the greatest Royal of them all, no doubt about it. George Brett, Paul Splittorff on there. This ball is smoked into left center field, and the Royals are on the board. Home run number 2 for Dozier, and a 1-0 Kansas City lead here in the 5th.
You know, Dozier's a big guy, 6 feet 4 inches tall, and guys like that ball out over the plate. They get their arms extended a little bit, and just a fastball at 94 that stayed up. First mistake of the night for Romano.
Gomes, a tapper down to Duvall, who feeds a covering Romano. That's out number 1. It's only the 3rd Royals hit all night. The Reds have been held no runs on 2 hits by Ian Kennedy. Dozier's got a little bit more subtle version of what Eugenio Suarez has going on with the hair color. Not quite as dramatic as Suarez. You can't see it there. That's his natural hair color where the beard is. But of course he's got that, I don't know if it's white or gray or whatever it is, but Dozier's got something similar going with that blonde look. There you go. Tough to tell in that picture right there. You see it better in the light. You ever thought about going with that look?
I'm going to that look already, naturally. I'm thinking about maybe some
Mine
highlights.
did look like
though.
that one time.
What about some highlights?
Thinking about it. Last time wasn't too good. There's a
Pitch
slow
there.
roller by the mound. And Peraza will throw out Escobar, 2 away in the inning.
He must have a sore toe, too. But he slips coming out of the box and never does get up to jogging speed. And I've seen people at crosswalks go across the street faster than that.
Saw a lot of them today. Here's Almonte. He's made the biggest play of the night on defense for the Royals. But the Reds had the bases loaded, and he threw out Scooter Gennett on a fly ball to center field at home plate, taking away really the only threat the Reds have had against Ian Kennedy so far tonight. Tapper over the mound. Scooter charging. Good play by Scooter, and the inning is over. But the scoreless tie is broken on the long ball by Dozier. 1-0 Kansas City.
Development event at the Kansas City Urban Youth Academy. Got to go one-on-one with these kids and talk about, well, growing up, getting out of an area where you might not be as privileged as others, and never giving up on your dream.
Come to a different city and state that I'm not even from, and like just after it was over with, man, I took a deep breath and was like, man, I did it, and like I know for a fact I put an impact on some of those guys' lives. Me and Escobar both at the same time. So, like I said, man, it was an amazing morning for me. It was big for me, and like I said, I want to do what I can to help those guys and give them a little motivation to become a professional athlete.
Kids were bright-eyed, and it wasn't long ago that he was a youngster in Mississippi, didn't have a whole lot growing up, and used baseball as a vehicle to make himself better, and he was giving back this morning.
Good stuff. That's hard work by Jim Day and Shannon Ford, who's also here doing some work.
And hard work for Billy Hamilton. I mean,
indeed,
you know, to get up early in the morning and head out there in an away town. You talk about someone who can really resonate with the message, though. I don't think there's anybody on this ball club that could do that with that crowd there from the RBI program here, the Urban Youth Academy there in Kansas City, than Billy Hamilton.
Well, you could hear this one off the arm of Perez all the way up here. Ouch. Oh boy. And he is really hurt. Hamilton walked about 30 feet away from the plate. The umpire goes out to the mound. The third baseman comes in to talk to Kennedy. And all just waiting for Perez to get it back together. Tough guys, man. No China dolls at that position. Billy gone on strikes, and that is the third of the night for Ian Kennedy. What a roll he's on. 11 in a row set down by Kennedy. Tomorrow in All New Reds Weekly, the Reds Urban Youth Academy had a signing day for baseball and softball players. Scooter reacts to his Scooter bobblehead. And we'll go back in time when first-round pick Ryan Weathers was a 5-year-old baseball prodigy hanging around with his dad, David. Reds Weekly presented by Miami Valley Gaming. A new episode tomorrow at 6. That'll be on Fox Sports Ohio and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. It's good stuff. Jeff Pecoro and Doug Flynn, along with help from Jim Day, part of the program. Schebler is singled into center field and popped up to Gordon in short left. Last time Kennedy got at least this far into a game, you've got to go back to the 21st of May. And in that game, in 5 2/3 innings, he allowed 9 hits and 5 earned runs in a loss to the Cardinals down at Busch Stadium. Schebler out on strikes, and that's back-to-back punch-outs for Kennedy here in the 6th, giving him 4 in the game.
A real sneaky fastball. Just take a look at the swing that Schebler puts on this one. I mean, after it's in the glove, really just trying to foul that ball off, and Kennedy just basically throwing it right by him. He's always been a very good pitcher in the National League ever since he was traded from the New York Yankees to the Diamondbacks in a huge trade that included Max Scherzer going from the Diamondbacks to Detroit in 2009. I mean, he put up some good numbers in Arizona.
Sure.
He was 14 games over 500 in Arizona, and in his second year there as a full-time starter, he went 21-4 and came in 4th in the Cy Young Award voting.
Dropped into right center field. That is a base hit for Tucker Barnhart to keep the inning alive for Joey Votto. The Reds' first base hit since the Scooter Gennett single to open up the 2nd inning.
The same pitch that he got Billy Hamilton struck out on. He hangs up a little bit, and Tucker Barnhart's able to level it into right field.
So that ends a stretch of 12 in a row. Retired by Kennedy. Votto is struck out and bounced out to first. The last pitch that Kennedy threw out of the stretch was actually when he faced Jesse Winker back in the 2nd inning, just the 3rd batter of that inning. Because once he walked Duvall, he went to the regular windup, you may remember. And that was in front of the fly ball, throw him out double play. 3 balls and a strike on Joey Votto. And a lazy fly ball into left center field. Short of the warning track, and that will end the inning.
With hashtag Hats Off for Heroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
All right, Royals bat here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Sal Romano's thrown a really, really good game here tonight. Through 5 innings, he's only allowed 1 run on 3 hits. That was a solo home run by Hunter Dozier in the 5th inning. He's thrown 71 pitches, 47 for strikes. And of the 18 batters he has faced so far in the game tonight, all but 5 have gotten a first pitch strike. Base hit right field by Manfred.
Pretty good bit of hitting right here. You know, you go up there thinking, well, Romano likes to throw the ball on that first base side of home plate. And if I continue to try to pull the ball, all I'm going to do is hit a ground ball. He's got plenty of those today. So he takes it the other way, does Merrifield, and he's got some stolen base potential.
Told you earlier, Merrifield 14 of 18 in the stolen base department, so you got to keep an eye on him, no question. And here's Moustakas. Milwaukee still that 4-0 lead over the Cubs at Miller Park. That game now in the 5th inning. St. Louis trailing in the 6th inning at home. 3-0 to San Diego. And now all of a sudden Romano, who has to pitch out of the stretch, which he has not done so since the 3rd inning, has fallen behind 3 balls and no strikes. And now
I would imagine that he's got to figure that Moustakas is going to be swinging 3-0 if he likes it. He went off last year, Moustakas did, from a home run standpoint, hit 38 of them, which is 16 more than he's ever had in 1 year in his career.
Danny Darwin on that telephone again down to the Reds bullpen. Boy, you just can't let this one get away from you. It's a 1-0 game, and here we are in the 6th. Ball to the right side. Can they turn two? They'll get one for sure, and that's all. But you cut down the lead runner, as he was indeed, Chris, as you pointed out, swinging at a 3-0 pitch.
Well, you gladly trade the runners, too. Get Merrifield off the base pass in favor of Moustakas, who can't run very much, and that's a nice play by Peraza. Make sure he's got the ball. Make sure you get the lead out right there.
Tell you, Peraza, he bent over with his hands on his knees after pivoting to make that throw. The Reds had the shift on, and he had to feed Suarez, who was at the second base bag. And it looks like he might be limping around a little bit out there. That stain on the shin. Don't know if he's pointing at the shin or the knee. But clearly he was hurting after they got that force out at second base, walking back to his normal shortstop positioning. Center field off the bat of Perez, and that will be the second out of the inning. And now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
By Romano trying to get through 6 innings. He is 1 out away from doing just that. A 1-0 Kansas City lead. Hot smash foul. Romano has not pitched 6 innings in a game since that stellar performance, arguably his best game of this season. All the way back on the 9th of May, went 6 innings of 4-hit, 1-run baseball, striking out a season best 7 against the New York Mets. That was a game the Reds won 2-1 in 10 innings. He did not get the win. Bottom fell out of that pitch, 0-2.
Well, the success story of both these pitchers tonight, Kennedy and Romano, really centers around what they do on their very first pitch. And they've been throwing a lot of strikes. Romano 16 out of the 22 batters he's faced. 14 of 21 for Kennedy. So they're getting ahead of the hitters.
One ball and 2 strikes on Soler. Two and 2 on Soler, and now 3 and 2 after being ahead. No balls and 2 strikes in this at bat. The 84th pitch of this game upcoming for Romano. Atlanta all over the Mets tonight, 7-2. That game in the 7th inning, down in Atlanta. Oh, what a good year the Braves are having. To many, it's quite a surprise. And I don't know what in the world is going on here with Romano and Barnhart. It's the third time in this at-bat where they've been unable to get on the same page with what they want to do. Looped into short right. Schebler got a good jump, and that will retire the side. 1-0. We're off to the 7th in Kansas City. And a couple of walks, but with one out, a fly ball to center, and what a throw for a double play to end the inning by Abraham Almonte. Ian Kennedy just having a woeful year, but you never know it tonight. He is fan 4. He's only allowed 3 hits. Sal Romano cruising along through the front 4, allowed 2 hits and no runs. He's still only given up 4 hits. But the 1 run came by Hunter Dozier, leading off the 5th inning into left center field. So here we go in the 7th. If Kennedy gets an out in this inning, it will be a season best outing for him in terms of length into a game. I mean, opponents coming into this game were batting over 300, 304, 83 hits in 65 innings against Ian Kennedy. But for whatever reason, in his 7 prior career starts, and this being number 8, he has been at his best against Cincinnati. He's pitched better against the Reds than any other team in his major league career. Most of that with Arizona. Scooter, a fly ball to left, 1 out. All right, time for a showstopper. And a showstopper himself is Jeff Piecoro. D.D. Gregorius was originally a Cincinnati Reds farmhand, and what a career he is putting together, especially since joining the New York Yankees.
Yeah, it took a while for him to finally get it all together, especially offensively.
High ball center field off the bat of Suarez, and 2 quick outs for Kennedy here in the 7th.
Well, a lot of soft contact here tonight, off really the bats of both teams. Neither pitcher is piling up the strikeouts, but they're getting a lot of early at-bat outs by just lazy fly balls, easy ground balls.
Romano has matched his season best with 6 innings here tonight. The 4th time he's done it this year. And it looks like he's going to get a chance to go back out there in the 7th inning. David Hernandez, who was up and throwing in the Reds bullpen, has taken a seat.
Well, that's
now,
the one,
he could well be ready.
That's the one thing that people like to talk about when they start advocating for the use of the designated hitter, is that you can leave a pitcher in a ball game longer. You don't need your bullpen quite as much because you're not double switching. You're not trying to get a pitcher out of there because of a pinch hitter. In a ball game like this, 1-0, I mean, you get anything going at all, you're going to pinch hit for the pitcher.
Winker is lined out to center and bounced out to second base, 0 for 2. The only Reds with hits in this game are Schebler, Barnhart, and Jeanette. Suarez and Duvall have reached on walks. That was back in the 2nd inning. Well, what a beautiful night here in Kansas City. When the Reds arrived last night, it was still about 95 degrees even at 6:30, 7 o'clock last night. It was a beautiful day today and a gorgeous night. Big swing and a miss by Winker. Expecting another great day tomorrow. Although they're playing a night game on getaway, Reds will not get rolling into their hotel in Pittsburgh until about 3:30 in the morning tomorrow night. Royals be coming into Cincinnati. In fact, will be the final 2 games of the year at home. That'll be in the final week of September. And there's ball 4. Jim Day, you had something to add to that National League, American League thing?
Yeah, Jim Riggleman talked at length today about the designated hitter and about he is not a fan at all of adding the DH to the National League. He says he's managed in both situations and your stomach is not churning as much as a manager in an American League game, and he feels that the strategy involved and all the moves that you have to make and using your bench, etc., makes it a much more interesting game in the National League. And even went on to tell a story about Sparky Anderson and Tony La Russa. Sparky went to Detroit and managed in the American League after managing in the National League with the Reds, and told Tony La Russa, who was managing the A's at the time, listen, you have to go to the National League. You have to experience that as a manager. And he ended up doing so with St. Louis.
Yeah, and both of those guys would tell you, Sparky Anderson when he was still with us and Tony La Russa even now, that they far more enjoyed managing in the National League much more than in the American League for those reasons.
Both these catchers that we have tonight, and it's a great kind of matchup, a subplot look at this ball game. Love that first base pick. The back pick works a little better when you have a left-handed hitter up there because you can kind of screen your throw down there. But Winker gets a big lead, gets back in time, but Perez has got a good arm. Yeah, those are interesting comments from, La Russa and Jim Riggleman, and, even going back to Sparky about the designated hitter. But those guys are students of the game. I mean, they have made their living managing, strategizing a ball game. If you're a fan just at the ball game, there can be an argument made that there's nothing all that exciting or attractive about an at-bat by a pitcher. Now, when you start breaking the game down and saying, you know, well, I need a double switch. Should I pinch hit for him? Should I get him out there for one more inning? That makes it interesting, but there's a certain segment of fan that, you know, just doesn't tune into that. I'm in no way advocating for the DH. I kind of like it just the way it is, although I think a nice wrinkle would be, and I've heard, I didn't come up with this, but I think instead of playing the designated hitter in this particular game, when the National League team goes to visit an American League city, why don't you play it under National League rules and then vice versa the other way? Then you get the fans in each city to understand what the other side of the game looks like.
Gone swinging Duvall. 5 strikeouts for Kennedy. He's having his best game of the year. So too is Romano. 1-0 Kansas City. Performing a live concert from the field Saturday, July the 28th, and everyone with a ticket to the Reds game has a chance to enjoy Walk the Moon. Boy, have they become a big hit across America. For tickets, log on to reds.com/concerts. Big Sal Romano. Jim Day likes to call him Big Sally. They get together frequently. And Big Sally starting off the bottom of the 7th inning, trailing 1-0. 84 pitches through the front 6, 54 for strikes. And he'll face Alex Gordon to lead off the inning. Gordon to be followed by Dozier and then Gomes here in the Kansas City 7th inning. Swing and a miss. Nasty pitch there from Sal Romano, and that is his 2nd strikeout of the night.
Well, it's a slider, and it's one that goes straight down for Romano. He's got a high arm slot. He stays on top of that pitch. Not a lot of side-to-side work. So Romano now in kind of rarefied air right here. 4th time this season a Red starter has pitched at least 6 1/3. Last time you got to go back to late April. Tyler Malley did it.
Dozier homered his last time up, and that's the only run in this game tonight. A laser to the seats in left center field.
only his second home run of the year, second of his major league career. Had only a cup of coffee here last year. Actually, not last year, but in 2016.
You mentioned earlier he was beat up a lot last year. Fly ball, right center. Shebler over in the alley to get it. 2 down. All right, so the third time this season any Red starter has gone at least 6 2/3 innings. And you've got to go back even further than late April for the last time. That is just incredible. That is almost 2 months worth of baseball since the Reds have had a starter get 2 outs in the 7th inning. Homer Bailey is the only Red starter this year to pitch 7 innings in a game. Homer started last night, by the way, down in Louisville. Hoping to make his way back to the big league club. He allowed 5 runs on 6 hits in 3 innings in Louisville's 7-4 loss to Columbus. Went on the disabled list with right knee inflammation. Nice play by Duvall to smother that ball before it got by him. And he stays with it to get the out. Romano's 7 innings of 1-run baseball. All righty, gentlemen, look forward to catching up with you here shortly. And let's see if the Reds can finally break through against Kennedy, who throws his 94th pitch of the game. And the 20th time tonight he has thrown a first pitch strike to a Reds batter. Peraza, Hamilton, Shebler due up in the 8th. 1-0. Kansas City in front on a leadoff 5th inning home run by Hunter Dozier. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Peraza, trying to get aboard the Royals for the first time all night. Have action in their bullpen. Kevin McCarthy, Tim Hill, the duo getting loose. And a fly ball to right will be an easy out. And by the way, Hill is the left-hander. We forget sometimes that for many of you, like us, seeing these Royals for the first time outside of a spring training game or two. They share that facility, a beautiful one once you get there. I mean, it's a long way to get there. It is by far the furthest point from where you would land in, basically Tempe, Arizona. Right in between Tempe and Phoenix is where the Phoenix airport is. And Surprise, Arizona is the furthest venue of any of the spring training facilities. They share with the Texas Rangers in the northwest suburbs. That's out by Sun City. No, not that far.
It's a nice, easy drive up there to play either the Royals or the Texas Rangers.
It's up by that area, Sun City West. Enormous, one of the largest retirement communities. Basically, it's an entire city of retirement communities up near Surprise. Oh, and to the count on Billy Hamilton. And a roller to the right side. And Kennedy gets there in time. Boy, he is dealing here tonight. I mean, you brought it up earlier, Chris. There haven't been 2 balls hit all night by a Reds batter that have had any noise on contact whatsoever.
Really, the toughest plays that have been made behind him tonight include him, and they're covering first base. He made a dandy play earlier in the ball game. I think Tucker Barnhart hit it in the 3rd inning where he had hit into the shift. The second baseman fielded it, and Kennedy had to go and cover first base from a long way away. That throw came from down the right field line. But other than that, there haven't been any diving plays by outfielders, no line drives that have been picked off, atom balls.
Well, he looks like he's huffing and puffing after that sprint over to first. Come on, man, this guy's only 33. Seriously, I mean, come on. And there's a looper to the shortstop that will end the inning. I tell you one thing, he is pitching one outstanding game here tonight. He has only allowed 3 hits, and he's 3 outs away from a shutout. Golfers in the world, the 118th U.S. Open. Live coverage begins Thursday from Shinnecock Hills on Fox FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. I got to tell you, we know about all the big names. But the guy I'm rooting for lives right down the road. And that will be the pride of Marymount High School. Second time he's qualified as an amateur for the United States Open in the last 3 years. Now plays collegiately at Ohio State University. And that would be young Will Grimmer.
Oh,
20 years young.
Good for him. Congratulations and good luck, Will. Good player.
Well,
really
2 years ago, you may remember, he broke the all-time record for an amateur qualifier for the United States Open, breaking the record of another native Buckeye, the Golden Bear, out of Upper Arlington High School, Jack Nicklaus. So who says all the golfers come out of Florida and California and all those places? Last time I checked, Nicklaus has won more majors than anybody.
You're right about that. I think he's also made the cut at the U.S. Open more than anybody.
Really?
By a long shot.
Bouncer down to third, fielded by Suarez. What a game for Romano, getting a chance to get back out there now. And that is officially the longest outing by a Red starter this year. 7 1/3 innings. You saw Homer Bailey went 7. The day before, Luis Castillo went 6 2/3. That was all the way back in the middle of April. So this is the longest outing by a Red since Romano did it against the Pirates in mid-September of last season. Jim Day was all over this story early. He was down there talking with Sal Romano, as he frequently does, with many of these Reds players. After Romano had had another shaky outing and got that great quote from Romano about it's time to get it together. We put it up on the screen earlier. Jim, do you still have that quote from earlier about Romano talking about going into this start that you were able to nab? I'll put it up. Don't worry about it, Jim. This was to Jim Day. I've just got to execute during the game and get guys out when I need to. I better turn things around soon.
Those are refreshingly honest words, because any pitcher that has pitched at this level has felt like that before. You go through a tough time, you figure you've got to turn it around. Some guys want to swallow their words and give you just the diplomatic line. For Romano, he just cuts right to the core.
Well, I have no doubt Jim Day will be down there with Romano after the game tonight. And you will hear first from the Reds clubhouse as Jim works his way from one end to the other, starting with the manager, Jim Riggleman. Ooh, that didn't miss by much. Romano wanted that call, didn't get it. He thought that was strike 3. You be the judge.
The first one of these of the night.
Now Danny Darwin, for the first time all night long, comes to the mound for Romano. That's his first walk tonight.
He's got to be relieved that it's Danny Darwin out there and not Jim Riggleman. Riggleman goes out, he makes a call to the bullpen. Darwin goes out there, just gives him a breather.
When you get an idea of Darwin standing there, just how big a guy Danny Darwin is, because there are very few that are looking Romano almost right eye to eye. Straightaway center field. Off the bat of Merrifield. Hamilton the catch. They're not going to run on that arm. That's not happening. 2 away in the inning. If you're looking ahead to the Reds' ninth, I mean, you've got the guys coming up. You got Barnhart, you got Votto, you got Jeanette. Any further than that, you have Suarez. Where Romano's really got to zero in and focus and not make a mistake here, because this is a guy that can hurt you. Can make it 1-0 to 3-0 in one swing of the bat. You got 2 outs. You're in the 8th inning. This is unquestionably the final inning, no matter what happens in the top of the 9th for Romano. And he gets a ground ball to first, and Sal Romano, a season high for any Red starter, 8 innings of 4-hit, 1-run baseball. That quote he gave to Jim Day, I got to get it turned around right now, and he did it tonight.
It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Lots of high fives, lots of hugs, congratulatory words for Sal Romano. Longest outing of his career. Matches it with 8 sparkling innings here tonight. 105 pitches plus 1 there, the final out. What a game. And he needed it.
Well, he's done his part. Let's see if the Reds bats can do their part here. They've only got 3 outs with which to work. Barnhart, Votto, and Jeanette, the scheduled hitters against the ace of the bullpen. For the Royals are bringing in Kelvin Herrera, and he has got some kind of bodacious numbers working so far this year.
Does he ever. He got his 14th save on Saturday, worked a scoreless 9th, dropping his season ERA to 0.73. He's allowed 2 earned runs in 24 2/3 innings. Chris, look at the walks number. Zip. Not a single walk from your closer. And what a game by Kennedy. I mean, as good as Romano was, Kennedy was just slightly better. 3 hits, no runs in 8 innings. Struck out 5, walked 3. 2 of those walks came in the 2nd inning. I mean, both of these pitchers needed this kind of game tonight. ball and 2 strikes on Barnhart. He singled to right center his last time up. 2-2. What makes this guy so good?
Well, it's control, number one. We already talked about the fact that he's not walked a batter yet this year. And that's the biggest change here from last year to this year. Control. His number of home runs have gone way down as well.
As Barnhart tied this game, there's a drive into right field, and he's tied the game with a home run. Can you believe it? Here in the 9th inning, a home run by Tucker Barnhart after the Reds don't score for 8 innings against starter Ian Kennedy. It's exactly what you and I were talking about the last commercial break. Do you stay with Kennedy? Do you bring in Herrera? Because you never know when that bullpen gate opens what might happen.
Well, you just change the energy of the game. And even if we bring in one of the most consistent relievers in baseball, Herrera is that guy this year. He just kind of floats a 2-2 pitch right out there, and Barnhart drills it. Oh, that one felt good.
Well, now you have Joey Votto, Scooter Gennett, and Eugenio Suarez coming up with nobody out. 1-1 game.
2-2 changeup. Kind of fitting, really, that it was Barnhart that goes deep right here to tie the game up, get Romano off the hook of a possible loss, because he was the guy that was, you know, the other end of that battery. Hand in glove, pitcher and catcher.
And 1 now on Joey Votto, and well, wouldn't it be nice to have your catcher start off and maybe you take a lead and close it down in the bottom of the 9th, and Romano gets a win after all out of this thing? And 1 on Votto, hitless in the game, and he draws a walk. First walk all year long given up by Herrera. 125 batters going back to last year since Herrera walked a batter, and now the trainer's going to come out. Ed Yost falling in line and just now reaching the mound.
May recognize that trainer that ran out there. Nick Kinney's a former trainer for the Reds. Been here with Ed Yost for a while now. Yost, the winningest manager in Royals history.
I think the prior winningest manager in Royals history might be a surprise to many. It's Whitey Herzog. Of course, also won a pile of games in Missouri's other major league city, St. Louis. One of the greats of all time, Whitey Herzog. Of course, Jim Riggleman is a Herzog protege as Scooter lifts one down the left field line, and Gordon will get to it for the first out here in the 9th. Votto back to first base. Don't know what's going on with Herrera, but he comes into the game, he gives up a home run, he gives up a walk, and then all of a sudden he's hurt. Here's Suarez. 0 for 2 has drawn a walk. Votto didn't even barely have a one-step lead over there, and he throws over. Now bluffs another throw. When you're having the kind of year, I mean, quite honestly, that the Reds are having and that the Royals are having, I'm sure Ned Yost says, you know, what are you going to do? Everybody we talked to with the Royals said the nights they get great pitching, they don't hit. And those nights have been few and far between. I mean, they're dead last in the American League in ERA. But the nights they do pitch well, they don't hit much. The nights they do hit well, which isn't frequently, they don't pitch at all. And here in a game tonight, you get a starter, gives you 8 innings. You make the decision to go to your closer, who's having an incredible year. And the first batter he faces ties the game with a home run. That is a foul ball, not by much. 2-2 on Suarez. Fly ball center. Votto will stay put. 2 away in the Reds' ninth. We invite you to get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game on Fox Sports Ohio. We call it Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, in the same time tomorrow night. Reds Live gets underway at 7:30 Eastern Time. Our game coverage at 8. Former Cub Jason Hamill against Tyler Malley. We invite you to join us tomorrow night from Kauffman Stadium, the second game, the final game of this 2-game series. All right, here's Winker, who had some big hits on the just completed homestand, looking for yet another here. Of course, it would almost take a triple to score Votto from first base, unless we were to get to a 3-2 count in this at bat. This was on Wednesday against Colorado to give the Reds a win in that series. First time he'd ever ended a game with a home run. Got a 2-0 count here against Herrera. I mean, Joey, he doesn't even have a step and a half lead over there at first. And he just looked over at Freddie Benavidez as if to say, I don't know if this guy's coming over to first, or because he kept kind of leaning back towards the bag. I mean, that's it. 3-1. He was trying to hit that ball to the bullpen. Way out in front. 3-2, so we do get to a full count. So Votto will have now the first baseman play back behind him over there, and of course he'll get started on the pitch. So maybe a double would score Joey. Ball 4. Can you believe it? Guy hadn't walked somebody since last season, and he's walked 2 here in the ninth.
You know, his body language is telling me that there's something bothering him, and I think it's more than just a home run that he gave up on a changeup. That may be the first clue right there, is why is he throwing a changeup there in that situation to Tucker Barnhart. But he kept walking around the mound and kind of shaking his arm a little bit, you know, just kind of moving it. And pitchers always do that when they're testing a sore spot. Where does it hurt?
So now the go-ahead run is Votto out at second base, and here's Adam Duvall. Duvall has walked, fly to center, struck out. It's a big at bat for the Reds, trying to pull off the improbable here in the ninth inning. Strike 1. Well, Ian Kennedy's got to be saying, what do I have to do? This will mean he has only still won 1 time in now his last 27 starts in his home ballpark. Of course, now games like tonight have been rare for Kennedy. Most of those he earned a loss or a no decision. He pitched well enough to win this one tonight. Maybe we'll find out after the game if something is indeed wrong with Herrera. Because right now, if the All-Star game were voted upon today, selected by the manager, of course, that'll be A.J. Hinch. Herrera would be on the All-Star team. Take it to the bank. Only the second time tonight in his major league career, and the other time was in a 2-inning outing where he's allowed a home run and 2 walks in any game. .96 on the fastball there.
You see him continue to wave his arm, though, just kind of shake it. You know, we haven't seen him pitch a lot. That just means one of his normal mannerisms.
All right, 3-2. The runners get started again, which of course would take away an easy force out, especially at second base. Let's see if Duvall can deliver the go-ahead base hit. A long look in by Herrera. And a foul ball. So neither one of the Reds runners, and obviously you don't want to get picked off here, but nobody's holding anybody on base. Neither one of those runners got a good jump at all on that pitch. Well, now you can say you don't need much, but it's one of those where if the runner at second base gets a really good jump, you hit a ground ball in a hole somewhere, it trickles off somebody's glove and rolls 10 feet away, you're scoring.
Or just knocked down by the infielder somehow. You're right.
Got to get a better lead and a better jump than that. 3-2. Ground ball. Now to third. Inning over. But the Reds get a game-tying home run by Barnhart. The blown save to Herrera. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And buy Toyota for over 30 offers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places. Sal Romano. 8 innings of 4-hit, 1-run baseball will get a no decision. But it's not a loss after the top of the 9th inning game-tying home run by his battery mate Tucker Barnhart, and now it's David Hernandez. 1-1 game, bottom of the 9th. Here's Perez. Breaking ball inside. 3, 4, and 5. Perez, Soler, and Gordon. 1 run, 4 hits for each team here tonight. And that pitch hits Perez to begin the 9th.
Just a two-seam fastball that just got away from him and just ran right up on the elbow pad.
And this is where I'm a little surprised that maybe you don't think about a pinch runner here. You've got one of the fastest players in all of Major League Baseball in Orlando. Are we making a pitching change here? The skipper coming out.
I think he might be just talking about defense right here. You've got the only guy you have up in the bullpen looks like it's Amir Garrett. Not going to bring him in right here, I wouldn't think. Now, what he's talking about, I'm sure the Riggleman is talking about, well, all right, what are you going to do here if they decide to bunt? And they're not going to put a straight steal on, obviously, not with Perez at first base. And I don't think Ned Yost would put a pinch runner in for Perez until Perez is advanced to second base.
They use Jared Dyson sometimes in these spots. Now we know Soler is not running well. We brought up earlier he's playing right around 80%, if even that. He's 0 for 3 in the game. He's hit a couple of ground balls to the shortstop. 0-1 high.
If you're thinking about a sacrifice, and the Reds don't think that's going to happen right here. The Royals have done it only 9 times this year. The Reds lead all of Major League Baseball with 25.
Oh, boy. Did he jump on that pitch? But a loud, long foul ball. Strike. We brought up earlier about the lead that Votto had when he was a runner at first base. I'm not sure Perez even has the same lead Votto has. Three balls and a strike on Soler. Borderline strike there, and it's 3-2. You have Gordon on deck, who is only a 159 batter against left-handed pitching. He's a left-handed batter. Swing and a miss, strike 3 on Soler. Good breaking ball by Hernandez.
Baseball 4. Soler has always been a free swinger.
All right, what does Jim Riggleman do here? Do you bring in the left-hander to face Gordon, knowing there's a right-handed batter next?
I think he's going to stay with the experience, which may be more important than a matchup.
I mentioned earlier, Gordon, a 159 batter against left-handed pitching. He is a 304 batter with all 5 of his home runs against right-handers. And that ball is in the air to left center field, and Winker is able to make a beautiful running grab up against the wall. A game-saving play out there by Jesse Winker in front of the left center field wall.
Well, very calm is the way you can describe the way that Winker went after this ball. He had a lot of time to get under it because the ball was lofted high. But still, you've got to negotiate the warning track, the fence. And Gordon thinks he may have one, but Winker's got it measured. Nice play by the Reds left fielder.
Nothing in one on Hunter Dozier. He homered to left center field back in the 5th inning for the only Kansas City run of the game. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 9th. Winning run at first base. 2 outs. 0-2. Struck him out swinging, and we're off to extra innings. The Reds are playing their 3rd extra inning game in the last 5 games they've played. 1-1 our score at the end of 9. The official sponsor of extra innings. So at the end of 9, 1 runs, 4 hits, 1 error, 6 left for the Reds. 1 run, 4 hits, no errors, 5 left for Kansas City. Reds here in the 10th inning will have Peraza, Hamilton, Schebler against a new pitcher, right-hander Kevin McCarthy.
3rd season in the major leagues for McCarthy. 33 games last year. He's in his 25th this year. Having a nice year, too. Good earned run average. Does not walk a lot of batters.
Peraza to start things, 0 for 2. 0 for 3, I beg your pardon. And that fly ball to center and a pair of pop-ups to short right. Love to get Peraza's speed on the bases, and this might be a chance. Gloved, and the throw is down the line. And Peraza's on his way to second. Here comes a throw there, and it is not in time. A gamble by Peraza, who I guess assumed that ball was headed maybe down the right field line, but it carried him back to the first baseman, Dozier. But boy, he had no throw whatsoever there to the covering shortstop. That'll be a single and an error. There's talk it's a do-or-die play.
Yeah, the reaction by Peraza to go to second base, that's not something that your first base coach can tell him to do. He's got to do that instinctively. Take a look at where the ball is and then bet on himself whether he can make it there or not.
Well, he saw where it was going, and he just beat it. All right, so you know it's coming here from Hamilton. I mean, the whole world can see this coming. The question is, can Billy execute the play and get Peraza down to third? Oh, strike one. Hamilton does not have a single sacrifice this year. And I think it's safe to say that when it comes to bunting, Hamilton's still working on it. They try to third, and Hamilton can't get the job done. That's just a great play made by Perez, but that's a terrible bunt.
Well, it was not a very good lead and break by Peraza either, but a good play by Perez. The bunt, if it's fielded by the catcher 2 feet out in front of home plate, you just didn't get it out there far enough. And Perez just throws on the move right there. I don't think even a big jump by Peraza is going to get him in there safe. He is out by that much. You've got to wait till the ball gets on the ground, or at least go downward from the bat before you take off right there, because you don't want to be doubled up.
I got to ask you, though, Chris. I mean, look, you know. All right, Hamilton is at first base. And here's Schebler. Strike one. Hamilton has 10 steals. He's been thrown out 3 times. And there's a base hit into right. This will send Hamilton on to third. So in essence, even though they failed to get a sacrifice down, they have a runner at third with 1 out in the inning after the base hit by Schebler.
That just cracks it right through a very small hole that they've got on the right side right there. And now you got a very tough part of the order for right-hander to try to work through. Switch hitter and Barnhart, and then Votto and Jeanette to follow. And no left-hander up in the Royal bullpen.
They had Hill up earlier, you may remember. See, just 3 out of 9. Barnhart with a runner at third. Less than 2 outs has been able to get the runner in. The major league average right around half the time. Infield in. And knocked down by the pitcher, who looks around, now comes to the plate, and Hamilton's in a rundown. They go back to the catcher. Hamilton still in the rundown, and is safe. He evades a tag of Escobar. Can you believe that?
Well, Ned Yost is going to come out and argue that he was out of the baseline. He's got no other argument beyond that. The question is, did he move more than 3 feet from his base path from where he was to avoid the tag? We'll take a look at the whole thing again. Weird play. Line drive back to the pitcher. Knocks it down. Looks around, not sure what to do with it. And then Billy's hung up.
They will not be able to review this play. And so it will just go simply as a fielder's choice, and the Reds have the bases loaded. Reds just caught a huge break. Huge break.
The only thing I think they could review on this is whether there was a tag actually made on the runner.
Yeah.
But you can't review, I don't believe, whether he ran out of the baseline or not. The base path, I should say.
All right, so the Reds now get another chance. Barnhart, who had tied the game with a home run, has that hot smash back to the mound. And the Royals can't get the out. And now it's Joey Votto with the bases loaded. 1 away in a 1-1 game here in the top of the 10th inning. Oh, 1. Reds looking for their first lead of this game. It was 0-0 till the Hunter Dozier home run in the 5th off Romano, who goes 8 sensational innings tonight, allows 4 hits and a run. Ian Kennedy, 8 innings of 3 hits shutout baseball. They bring in their closer for the 9th. The first batter, Barnhart, ties the game with a home run. And here in the 10th, they're loaded with 1 out. And Votto drops it foul out of play, 2 balls and a strike. Votto's shaking his head and talking to himself. That was a 2-0 fastball right down the can, and he was beat by it. And he's not beat by this one. Drilled to the right center field gap, and this is going to bring in 3 runs. Barnhart, the trail runner, and Votto, a 3-run triple here in the 10th, and a 4-1 Cincinnati lead.
Well, beat him once, yes. Beat him twice, not this time. Kevin McCarthy comes right back with the same pitch, a fastball, and Votto gaps it. And Ned Yost in that Royals dugout's got to be wondering what in the heck happened here in the last 15 minutes to change the course of his entire night.
No question. He had a starter who went 8 innings of 3 hits shutout baseball. Now they're going to intentionally walk Jeanette and face Suarez.
What a weird inning. I mean, really, when you consider, you know, Billy Hamilton getting out of that rundown. I mean, how often do you see that?
Well, really, you go back to Hamilton's at bat. I mean, his inability to get a runner from second to third with a bunt. So it starts there. And then you get a base hit by Schebler. That should have been a hit to bring in the go-ahead run if you get a bunt down. And then you're right, the play of the inning. And there's another base hit that'll bring in a fourth run. Suarez adds to his National League leading RBI total. That's 49 of them. And the Reds lead 5-1. They were already leaving here by the dozens, even in a 1-1 game at the end of 9. And for the few thousand that are left, many of them are pouring out of here after a 4-run Reds 10th inning. Two away. Garrett cranking it up in the bullpen. The Royals will have Goins, Escobar, Almonte due up in the bottom of the 10th. It all started with Tucker Barnhart. A game-tying home run against a closer who came in with an ERA that began with 0.7 for Kelvin Herrera. And Barnhart tied the game with that solo home run. And now after hits in the inning by Peraza, an error defensively, a single by Schebler, caught a break on a failed rundown play by the Royals on defense. That's a fair ball. Long throw here. And that'll end the inning. 9 back, 4 score, 3 on the bases loaded triple by Votto. $12. That's next weekend. It's a big series presented by Kroger. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Joey Votto might like this DH stuff, Chris. It's not too shabby right there. 3-run triple.
I know he likes coming to the bat with the bases loaded in the top of the 10th inning in a tie ball game. Busted it wide open. He did it with that gapper that he ended up getting all the way to third base on. And with a 4-run lead, the Reds are going to the left-hander out of the bullpen 30 times this year. Amir Garrett has been in a ball game. Young man that so desperately wanted to be considered as a candidate for the starting rotation down in spring training. He has just blossomed here in short bursts.
2-0 the count on Gomes. So Garrett trying to get the final 3 outs. Clearly not a save situation here with a 4-run lead. Latter third in the batting order. Escobar and then Almonte. San Diego's finished off St. Louis tonight, 4-2 the final. Arizona just blasting the Pirates at home. Pirates are batting at the end of 3, trailing 8-0 out in the desert tonight.
Boy, the Reds got the Diamondbacks going, did they not?
This ball is lined into center, and Hamilton staying with it. Had a little knuckle to it. Yes, they did. Of course, I mean, look, the Diamondbacks weren't as good, we didn't think, as they played the first month, month and a half of the year when they were beating everybody every night. Of course, they weren't as bad as the stretch they went through where they lost, what, 13 out of 15, something like that. They're probably somewhere in between.
Before the Reds saw them, and even for the first couple of games there, it didn't seem like their main man in the lineup, Paul Goldschmidt, could even buy a base hit, and he just was named the Player of the Week last week.
I mean, he's like Votto and Freeman, some of these guys. It's just not going to last all that long. That kind of a slump. Too good. Scooter in short center field. A one-hop throw. Nice job by Duvall. Look at Scooter thanking his mate.
Yeah, interesting the way Scooter fielded that ball. He backed up so that he knew when he fielded that he could take a couple of steps toward the baseball, get his momentum going towards first base. We wouldn't have to throw it off his back heels.
David Hernandez stands to win it. The loser would be McCarthy. It's hard to believe McCarthy has pitched 25 games out of the bullpen. This would be his 7th decision of the year. And this is going to do it. Scooter down on one knee. Firm throw this time, and that's at Garrett, a 1-2-3 10th. What a win for the Reds here tonight. Game-tying home run by Barnhart to lead off the 9th inning. They score 4 in the 10th. And down the Royals in the first of 2 here tonight, thanks to Votto's 3-run triple in the 10th. 5-1 the final. Reds live right around the corner. Pick and Brian standing by in Cincinnati. This is Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.